Have you heard of the idea of 6 degrees of separation? The idea that everyone is on average connected by 6 steps or less. Imagine that. Just 6 people connect you to anyone on the planet. It shows that we all have much more in common than we think. That feeling that we have something in common with other people, especially strangers, makes us feel closer to them and trust them more. And it's one of the ways we can build stronger emotional connections with others, whether they're guests, people we work with, or even potential friends. A study by Stanford University put this idea to the test, and their research showed that when we think we have something in common with someone else, even a stranger, we are more likely to put ourselves in their shoes and to care about them and their experiences. The people in the study saw a 28% increase in the intensity of emotions they shared with a complete stranger when they believed that they had just a few small things in common with that person. Think about when you're trying to solve a problem for a guest. How much easier is it when they trust you and they believe that you have their best interests at heart? So why does this happen? Well, we humans are programmed to like people who are like us. We know, for example, that we use a different part of the brain to think about people we see as different to us than we do to think about people who are similar to us. In fact, the part of the brain we use to think about people like us is the same part of the brain that we use to process our own thoughts and emotions. In other words, we think about them the same way we think about ourselves. Since the beginning of time, people have enjoyed sharing experiences with others. There's even a name for it. It's called communitas, the feeling of togetherness we get when we share the same event, at the same time, in the same space. In that moment, we lose a sense of our individual selves and we become equals, sharing something special in common. It's the high five shared with the stranger next to you when your team scores a goal, or the incredible buzz at a music concert, or even the way soldiers who return from fighting together feel closer than brothers. One of the reasons some people have difficulty finding the common ground is that they hate the idea of small talk, those awkward, fake conversations that we have in passing with strangers that leave everyone feeling a little bit empty. But the reality is that small talk is a great tool for removing barriers and cutting through the hierarchy and making genuine connections with people from all walks of life. The secret to making small talk less awkward is to make it more meaningful. Here are some suggestions. Ask questions that matter and be curious about their answers. Dig deeper and ask about details. Nothing's worse than a dead-end answer. Offer another point of view. Healthy debate can be a great way of understanding someone else's values and beliefs, but keep it respectful and never make it personal. If finding the common ground is such a great idea, what stops us from doing it all the time? Let us introduce the 4 enemies of common ground: assumption, arrogance, indifference, and control. Assumption is when we assume we know what others want or feel, so we miss clues about what's really going on. Arrogance creates a barrier between us and others when we believe that our way of thinking is the only way. Indifference is when we become so focused on ourselves and we don't bother looking for the best way to relate to others. And finally, sometimes when we try to control a situation, we hold back from sharing with them, making it impossible for people to connect with us. And finally, one of the most important reasons that finding the common ground is so powerful is because it helps reveal the real you. When you discover something that you have in common with someone else, the dynamic changes. It's impossible not to be authentic in that moment. And when you open yourself up and share a piece of yourself with someone else, it literally creates a bond between you and the other person that brings you closer.